Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions JP, I cleared floor 50 of the tower, so I thought I'd talk about my experiences with it this time, and then talk about some units that left an impression on me. This run was maybe the most fun that I've had with the tower since the very first time it came around, and it's probably because I was able to clear so many floors of it in one run. I've actually come around to appreciating the idea of like sending waves of units into a floor in order to clear it. I didn't like it at first. But like you can send in like, one element team to clear out these guys, then they get taken down, then you send in another team of another element, that kind of thing. But it's more gratifying when you can clear a floor just in one go, because you feel like that the work that you put into your account is paying off. The last time the tower came around, I didn't go very hard on it, so I actually didn't get the light ring. So I got that for the first time here, along with the fire ring. And then I got both to 4 stars, level 40, and I'm fine with that for now. Maybe the next time the tower comes around, I'll go for the final awakening on both. As for some overall impressions, I did notice a difference between EX job units and level 99 units. EX job units definitely did more damage and survived longer. The level 99 units were still great and super helpful, but yeah. Another overall observation I had was that units with different attack types were awesome. For example, there were a few floors where Fire Slash was good, so like Luasa and Erure and Christmas Mashiri were great there. And as usual, the Ninja Ton skills, and then also Drain Force were great. Like almost every enemy in the higher floors have super high attack resistances, so to be able to get around those was good. There were more than a few enemies weak to only strike attacks, and I was hurting there, but then penetration came in handy if I wanted to go for slash or magic or something. And since it's a percentage, the higher the attack resistances, the more beneficial penetration will be. Okay, but next let's talk about some units. First, maybe the biggest impression I got was how good Christmas Rhomada was. Again, she has Suiton and Drain Force to get around those resistances, but with EX jobs, she really survives well, which was maybe the most surprising thing about her. She's tricky to use in auto battle because she tends to charge straight ahead and get herself killed, but here in the tower, she was a boss. It makes me want to try her again in Arena, maybe with an evade build or something. I was waffling on awakening her to EX jobs, but I'm glad I did now. And then Stern was also great, for a lot of the same reasons as Christmas Rhomada. And if I were to compare this Stern to Super Stern, I think regular Stern was more useful. And then also with his EX job skill, he can break slash resistance, so that can help out against almost anybody. And then this goes for all ninjas, but the Poison Cloud skill was so good. Poison overall is great for damage to cut through defenses, but also the movement. Along with Samurai's Hayate, you can use it for like elevation problems, you can use it for teleporting through enemies, sometimes just for extra move to get across a big map quickly, so big fan of that Poison Cloud move. And then Orodoa, she was solid as an attacker, but her AP and TP breaks were more awesome, I thought, especially against the Esper bosses. And then her level 120 skill, which never really clicked with me before, made more sense using her in the tower. I'd say medium range, medium damage attack, costs 20 AP and drains 20 AP, and I was like, what's the point? Hazard break hits more guys and does more damage. The assassin AP break takes away more AP. Launch does more damage and you can use it more often. But what that skill enabled was just a longer streak of uninterrupted damage, where I didn't have to use TP skills to get AP back. So that meant taking guys down faster and taking less damage myself. So now I really like the skill, and I'm glad I'm using these units so that when they roll around the global, I can give better advice about them. And Rob was very solid. I always used him with a Vistral, and they soaked up a lot of hits by evading. I can't wait for Vistral's EX job awakening later this month, and it would be great to get more light element evade units overall. Maybe Mariaru would be another option. But yeah, Rob with his samurai, he has the hayate, so he got that movement ability there. And then Christmas Mashiri was so strong, she got me through some floors single-handed. Her launch from the Viking subjob was super duper strong, doing like 5,000 damage on guys even on level 50. And then her range and her elevation versatility and 100% hit attacks and reflex and magic resistance, everything was just great about her. Sometimes I get comments from people saying like, I hope Christmas Mashiri gets EX jobs in Global soon, and I'm like, don't wait, use her now. I used her all through 2020 at level 89 and she was great, so you can definitely use her now in Global. And then Federica was solid, nothing earth-shattering, but I still need to level her up, maybe get more Esper resonances, but the long range and the elevation versatility were great. But I think to get the most out of her, I need either the new Coral Vision card or Federica's Dream Vision card. And then not really related to the tower, but mono lightning teams in Arena gave me a lot of trouble last week. I was pretty impressed with like Federica, 9S, Nivlu, and then the new handout MR Shiruma. So when Orlando gets EX jobs, I can see Lightning Element being very scary in PvP. And speaking of 9S, he was great. I was unsure about it for a long time, but having used him a lot now, I consider him a true bruiser. He has some resistances and some defense, but his self-buffs that either buff those resistances or raise his defense spirit allow him to take a lot of hits. And then physical reflex and then solid damage coming from him made him pretty darn good overall. And then looking at non-EX units, Eileen was good, but she went down too easily. With EX jobs, her HP goes through the roof, which would really improve her survivability, so it's tempting to awaken her. And I'll admit it, I want to awaken everybody to EX jobs, since all units are good, and it's fun to use units you don't usually use. But it's just a matter of materials, and I don't have enough materials to awaken everybody. And then Garble, he was great, but not amazing. I feel like he's much better for shorter fights, like in PvP, rather than longer fights in PvE. But he was great against like evade units and stuff like that. And then Sasayaki, the MVP, super tanky, decent damage and range. And then again, her TP and AP breaks were great. She basically shut down the Esper bosses and then made all the floors, multiples of 5, much easier. And she's so good that she doesn't even need EX jobs, but I'm still eagerly awaiting for that. She's the queen of high difficulty PvE. And then there were all of the MR and lower rarity units. And again, they were fun to use because I don't usually use them. But then the ones that I awoke to EX jobs, they were so good that like I couldn't tell the difference between them and UR units. So if you love a lower rarity unit, you can awaken them to EX jobs with confidence because the game treats them right. I don't know about PvP, you can try that out, but for PvE, definitely. And those were the units that left the biggest impression on me on this run through the tower. I guess I can say that I am here in War of the Visions primarily for the PvE experience, and that's because the solo game experience is sacred to me, because I'm old enough that I grew up on 8-bit and 16-bit games, and also on lots of RPGs, which are single-player. And so in War of the Visions, PvE is my main concern. I'm chasing the game side meta, while maybe most users are chasing the user side meta, which is much harsher. So that might explain some of my views and priorities. To tell the truth, user-side power creep doesn't bother me very much. What I care about is how fast game-side power creep is going. And so like if PvE gets to a point where I need cost 100 units at level 120 to clear them, then I might quit at that point. I hear of people like kind of not even playing tower. They'll just auto and just keep throwing guys at floors until it clears it by itself. And that's too bad. But I know that not every mode of this game is geared towards every player's taste, so that's fine for them. I don't do manual PvP, so we all got our thing. But, you know, I feel that Tower is fun and balanced. 3-star Esper fights are fun and balanced, so I'm good with where the game is now. However, I feel like PvE is still underdeveloped in War of the Visions. Again, Tower is great and 3-star Esper fights are great, but they're not super technical strategy-wise. Basically, it's get your guys ready and slug it out. And like the maps, they don't have any gimmicks or like anything, it's just an area to fight in. And that's about as deep as like console tactics games, which is fine. But as we've seen for mobile games that are like 3 years old or older, things can get very tricky, very technical, very challenging that need specific builds or specific strategies. And people complain about Brave Exvius needing encyclopedias to beat bosses, but I loved how complicated those boss fights were. Those fights were more difficult than anything that I played on consoles. Maybe next to Dark Souls, but that's a different experience. I also liked fighting like 3 bosses in a row and then thinking about one team build that could take on all 3. One of my biggest complaints about Brave Exvius was that the attempts, they cost so much energy, and then also energy refreshes cost so much lapis that we really didn't have the leeway just to kind of experiment and like muck through fights and figure it out for ourselves. And so we ended up relying on those encyclopedias just because of lack of resources. That was a real missed opportunity there from the company, I thought. But even looking at the encyclopedias, those fights were a lot of fun, especially if you could beat it with a composition different from everyone else. War of the Visions is not anywhere near that depth and richness in PvE, but hopefully in the future it will be. I say this all the time, but again, this is a young game, and the developers are pretty obviously stressing PvP early game, where folks who started at the same time more or less are at the same strength level and so can compete against each other. And so we're all growing together, and everybody from beginners to veterans can find an appropriate challenge in PvP. And the reason why PvE is not harder now is because the game is young, and most users' accounts are not strong enough for that high-level stuff. There's no reason to release PvE content that less than 1% of users can clear. And so it's smart for the developers to focus on the PvP game early in the life of War of the Visions. That said, I am enjoying PvP more than I expected when I started this game, and last week I got my highest arena ranking ever. Sub 2000 is maybe not super high, but I'm still proud of myself. And then of course this is Japan. We're talking about where people are super intense about their games. I guess someday I could aim for sub 1000 or sub 100. I got where I did last week because my team was so much fun to use, the Mono Fire team, and I got a nice bonus for using the Phoenix card, and the team also worked well on the map. So maybe the next time the stars align like that, maybe I'll go harder, go for a higher rank. And wouldn't it be funny if a foreigner got #1 in Arena some week? Okay, I think that will do it for this video. Hope you're enjoying the tower. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.